This video series is brought to you by the ASU Writing Center within the Academic Support Network. Thank you for joining me as we discuss Part 3 of APA Citation. This video, our third in the series, will discuss in-text citations. Let's get started. APA uses the author date citation system. You do have two options when including citations in your writing. You can use parenthetical citations, which put all the citation information in parentheses at the end of the sentence like this, parentheses, author's last name, comma, year. For example, this argument is illustrated with several relevant examples, parentheses, Gomez, comma, 1999. You can also use narrative citations, which include the citation information as part of the sentence like this, author's last name, parentheses, year, and then the verb that you'll be using to introduce this information. For example, Gomez, 1999, illustrates the argument with several relevant examples. If you are referring to a source with 1 to 2 authors, include their names in every citation. For parenthetical citations with 2 authors, you will use an ampersand symbol to separate the 2 names. For narrative citations with 2 authors, you will use the word "and" between the names. For 3+ authors, you'll include the name of only the first author plus the words "et al." In every citation, including the first citation. Something to consider in APA style is the appropriate level of citation. There are guidelines for citing. You want to be sure any sources you cite you've read and incorporated into your work. You want to cite facts and figures that are not common knowledge, and note that this can vary by field. Consider your field and what would be common knowledge for your peers in that field. Be mindful of both overcitation and undercitation. Overcitation can be distracting and unnecessary, where undercitation can lead to plagiarism. It is considered overcitation to repeat the same citation in every sentence when the source and topics have not changed. Consider this example. This is an example of a long paraphrase with a single in-text citation. We can see that the author starts their paragraph by attributing the source that they are pulling from, Velez et al., 2018. They then continue to discuss this source and topic in this entire paragraph. Therefore, it is not needed for them to cite this source again. This leads us into conversations about paraphrasing. Paraphrasing happens when you refer to an idea from another author, but you put the idea in your own words. This information must be cited through an in-text citation. As we covered earlier, you could use a parenthetical citation or a narrative citation to attribute this information. You are not required to include a page number in your citation when paraphrasing, although APA does encourage writers to include a page or paragraph number if paraphrasing out of a longer source. At times, you will be connecting many ideas from different sources through paraphrase. When you're putting sources in conversation like this, it is a writing principle known as synthesis. This is when you'll want to be careful with citations and make each source very clear. In this example, some works are cited multiple times to support multiple points. We can see authors reappearing in this citation, like Elwood et al., Figley, O'Halloran and Linton, etc. These sources reappear for clarity. The author is changing topic, discussing different aspects of their research. Therefore, they want to be clear which authors contributed to which kinds of research. Another way to include sources in your writing is through quotation. There are a few reasons to quote from sources instead of paraphrase. To precisely answer how, what, who, or why questions about research. To include official information, especially when it is important that the information be spoken through an obviously authoritative voice. When the author's language is particularly descriptive or poignant, and if paraphrasing the information would significantly change the meaning of the author's words. Authors will want to use direct quotes sparingly and intentionally. There are 2 forms of quotations in APA, short quotations and block quotations. We will start by talking about short quotations. If you are directly quoting, you will need to include the author, year of publication, and page for the reference. For short quotations, you have 2 different options to cite the quotation. You can introduce the quotation with a signal phrase that includes the author's last name followed by the date of publication in parentheses. For example, Howie and Pate, 2012, suggests that the key to increasing PA physical activity in schools would be to show that PA improves academics, page 160. If the author or authors are not named in a signal phrase, place the author last name or names, the year of publication, and the page number in the parentheses after the quotation. The example here reads, some researchers have suggested that the key to increasing PA, physical activity in schools, would be to show that PA improves academics. Cowie and Pate, 2012, page 160. Notice when writing out the author's names in a sentence, you write out the word and, but when you include the author's names in parentheses, you use the ampersand symbol. For block quotations, these are quotations that are more than 40 words in length. When setting up a block quotation, you will want to start it on a new line that is indented a ½ inch from the left margin. You will need to double space the entire block quotation, and you do not want to use quotation marks. Finally, you will need to include a parenthetical citation at the end of the block quote. Let's look at an example of these rules. On the left, you can see the 5 rules that we just listed. This is an example. Our quote here is more than 40 words in length. It is 48 words long, so it must be formatted as a block quote. We will start it on a new line and indent each line 1/2 inch from the left margin. The block quote will maintain the double spacing for the paper. And since it is already indented, we do not need to use quotation marks to signify that it is different from the rest of the text. The parenthetical citation is still at the end, and this is the only time it will appear outside of the period. Please note, if the author date information was not listed in the preceding sentence before the quote, it would appear in the parenthetical citation. You do want to make sure that there is a correspondence between your reference list and your in-text citations. Here we have an example of a reference list entry and its corresponding in-text citations. You do not want to have any reference on your reference list that does not have a corresponding in-text citation, and you don't want to have any in-text citations that do not have a corresponding reference list entry. This can be considered academic dishonesty. Let's move to some common questions about in-text citations. If you have an unknown or anonymous author, you will include the title and year of publication in the in-text citation. The title will move to the author position in the reference list entry as well. If the title of the work is italicized in the reference, also italicize the in-text citation. If the title of the work is not italicized in the reference, you will use quotation marks around the title in the in-text citation and in the in-text citation only. Please note, this does not apply to the reference list entry. You will capitalize these titles in the text using title case, even though the reference will use sentence case. Title case capitalizes every important word in the title, whereas sentence case only capitalizes the first word of the title or the subtitle. Sometimes you need to cite multiple sources in one in-text citation. If you are writing about different ideas coming together or emphasizing support from several sources, you may need to include multiple sources in one in-text citation. To do so, you will list the citations alphabetically separated by semicolons. If you have 2 or more works by the same author, you will arrange them sequentially by year of publication. Sometimes you have works with the same author and the same date. This is rare but can be confusing. You will need to include a lowercase letter after the year when works have the same author and same publication date. This will be used in both the in-text and reference citation. In this example, authors Judge and Kameo Mueller have written a paper in 2012. There's also another reference with the same author and publication date. Therefore, we've distinguished this one with the lowercase letter a after the year. Any other work by the same author and same date would have a different lowercase letter. For example, B or C. These are the references that we used in compiling this video. If you have any questions about anything we covered in this video, our study hub is a great place to post questions and get a tutor or peer response. If you would like support checking over your in-text citations, you can view our resources on the online study hub detailing APA-styled steps for citing with an APA checklist for in-text citations. Thank you for joining us to discuss in-text citations, and we hope to see you in our next segment, reference lists. Thank you.